You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with. All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
Hello and welcome to the Mushie Moment with myself and my awesome co-host, Reverend Cindy. We're live today on Tuesday, June 27th, 2023 on paceradio.net, CBG TV, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, Boxcast, Roku, and Firestick. How you doing today, Cindy?
I'm doing okay. How are you doing, Steve?
Well, you know, sometimes the butterflies happen and you go, well, what's going to happen today?
Yeah.
And today might be one of those days. So what new and exciting things have happened in your life over the last little bit?
Okay, think of the positive stuff, Cindy. We don't need to get into the negative stuff. I got my amazing Happy collection in the mail.
Nice.
16 different types of Happy.
And they vary through what? Read some of the labels on them.
All done up in these little jars. Aren't they cute? Well, the one I just did before we came on air is from the Shanawa tribe, and it is called Harmony Happy. And it, I have a paper around here somewhere. What did I do with that? It is quite, meaningful to its name. It is there to bring harmony to your spirit and your body. And if I can find it right quick, I can even tell you a little bit about it, because I have write-ups on all of my different Happys, just because it's the way to learn. The Harmony Happy is from the Shanawa tribe in the Amazon rainforest of Brazil. It's a true gift from the tribe, made with a smoother mapacho to bring about an experience of energetic recalibration, balance, and harmony. It's Candelario. It's the plant used for making teas for joints and pains. In Happy, it can have a similar effect, and it can help with arthritis and joint pain. Overall, the Happy works to ground, balance, clear the body, piercing through any energetic debris, blockages, muscle tension, and bringing about a wave of peace, harmony, and stillness throughout the body and spirit.
Wow.
Cool.
That sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah. So that's just one. And I've experimented, or I've used a couple of them. I think 5 of them now. And they're pretty powerful. It's pretty powerful medicine. It's pretty incredible.
Wow.
Yes.
Yes, I actually I find it very clearing. When you were out here, we got some, and the ones that I've got are they help me breathe. They clear my head. They help me find a space of calm. And all I have is thank you on that. Because today, I also needed a place of calm.
Yeah.
So I know some people have logged on and they're, hoping to watch part 2 of our guest from last week. I spoke to her earlier. I'm hoping she's not having technical difficulties getting in, but she isn't currently in. We're awaiting her appearance, but if not, in the meantime, this is something that comes along with addiction as well.
It's hard.
Inconsistencies, although I did talk to her about a half hour ago and she was like, yes, I'm gung-ho, so I have a feeling it's probably technical difficulties.
Absolutely. She for the last week she's been excited about today, so here's hoping that she can get things figured out and join us. If not, trust me, this will not be the end. Part 2 will still be yet to come, and it is open to Katie to come back when she's got all the technical stuff figured out.
And at this point, I'll kind of just talk about a little bit of what goes on with me, because I'm also, I'm complex PTSD and I'm trauma-based. So these type of things, in addiction are fairly common. Now, I spoke to her a half hour ago. She was going to come on the show. She's not. As a person in trauma, my first thought isn't, it's technical difficulties. So as the parent of an addict, someone that has had their own trauma, my brain automatically goes to the darkest, which is, what if she just overdosed? And right now, we're waiting for her to come on. She just overdosed. And I can choose to go that direction, which I spent many years going that direction. And it damn near killed me. It broke me down pretty hard. And I realized that we have a choice in letting our brain go there or not. But sometimes we can't see that we have the choice. And in this moment right now, anybody that's watching this, I'm processing this. It's not something I thought about. It's just something I'm thinking about and processing. And, I felt that, what if? And I felt that, come on again, that emotional wave. And it's like, no. It's not needed. It's not needed at this moment. If that's happened, when I find out, that emotional wave can have its moment. But for me to bring that emotional wave in an expectation, one, I'm focusing in a negative, which creates negative. I don't want that. So for myself, I focus on how much I love my beautiful daughter. And no matter where things end, that love that we have, and for me, it's with all of my kids. The love overpowers any darkness that can be in there. And the love will always be there. And in the end, the only thing that exists is the love. So I'm finding it's healthier for me to look towards the love, think of the love, and try to feel what it feels like to resonate in that frequency. And I find that frequency is the frequency that is in those moments. You witnessed one at the Amsterdam.
I was just sitting here thinking about that.
That moment when you just hug and all of that unconditional love is it's just there and it's embraced and it's beautiful.
And let me tell everybody, I was a witness to that, as was everybody else in the cafe that day. And it hit us all like a great big wave. And I believe Katie's boyfriend even said the same thing. Like, he heard it and he felt it. And it was a beautiful show of unconditional love. And I was honored to sit there and witness it.
The situation and the chaos around me is the same. But how I view it changes from a moment of pain or to a moment of healing. And I used to look at the pain. So the hugs would still happen. If I would go to the Surrey Strip when they were on the Strip and I would hug my daughters, there was all the love I had. But the love at that point, I didn't know what unconditional love was. And I resonated in fear. So all I could deliver was fearful love. And I delivered all my love to the most I could deliver. So even though I was doing loving behaviors in a loving way, there wasn't I was giving myself and injuring myself while I was trying to empower them and make them better. How can someone make somebody else better if you can't even empower yourself? I know why you're smiling. And in those moments where you choose not to go to fear and you stand in the moments of love, you can see miracles happen. And
sorry, we just got to see a cut. I'm happy. It's a good thing.
no, it's awesome because, you know, this is, I could have been dancing in fear. I could have been crying that whole time, thinking the worst. And in reality, we never know what's there.
Yeah.
Now, the problem is we don't know if she's ready.
Give us a thumbs up when you're ready, my love, okay?
Oh,
we got a thumbs up. We got a thumbs up. So we get to continue on with part 2, to continue on from last week and hear more of her story and throw some love at her because she deserves it. I'd like to welcome our guest today. Welcome back. She's running outside.
She's like, no, it's loud here.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, it's all good, Pumpkin.
I'm just getting in the van now. Okay.
We started the show without you.
I know, I'm so sorry. It's kind of a last minute thing that we were having to leave right away.
Do you have enough power on your phone to make it happen?
I'm connected to a portable charger.
All right.
Okay. So, just getting in the van. And we're good. Okay. Okay, we're good.
There she is.
Okay.
Hi. So, what were you guys talking about?
Well, I was just talking about because you know, I'd connected with you and then we weren't connected and I was trying to get a hold of you and couldn't. And I was talking about how as a parent of an addict, the brain can go to the darkest fear modes in those moments and think the darkest things, and how I've noticed that we can actually, at every moment we have the opportunity to choose love or fear. And we can dance in as much fear as we care to dance in. And my old pattern was to dance in the darkest fears. Oh my God, maybe she's overdosed. Maybe why she's not on here is because she's dead. And that would have been the whole program that would have played out before, and I'd burst into tears and freak out. But I'm learning that if I hang on to the frequency of love and I hang on to that feeling that we share when we actually hug each other and you know, it's just unconditional love, and that's the frequency I hang on to. And in hanging on to that, I can look for miracles. And instead
as soon as you said that, you popped in, and it was just
really
exciting, and it gave me the chills and a tear in my eye, and I haven't stopped smiling since. So,
no, I was wondering why you had a big grin on your face. Sorry, I kind of just rolled out of bed and then had to leave, and then now I'm just kind of, I'm not makeup ready, but that's okay.
Don't worry about it, Pumpkin. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Wow, you're always beautiful.
Thank you. Well, I guess we should start off where we left off last time, right?
Well, where would you like to start off? It's your story.
it is.
I think we were talking about what was it? The Barbie bus, and then we were talking about the dog attack, and we stopped off. I think it was when we were telling the doctor and trying to get on methadone.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
Was that where we were? Yeah.
I know we went
So.
through.
Go ahead.
So pretty much, like, I guess where I'm going to start off is like when we started doing the methadone, because I think I talked a little bit about how it was a crutch for me and I liked Suboxone better because it was easier to use, I found, on methadone because of the fact that I could just get sick and then use my methadone and then I wouldn't be sick anymore. And I could just go take it every day. And it was so steadily available to me that I didn't have to worry about getting that $20 every day. Getting that $20 every day. Hey, Dad, can I have $20? Hey, Mom, can I have $20? You know what I mean? Like, that's what it was like, right? And as long as I could get at least that $20 a day, I was good, you know? But when I had my methadone, if I couldn't get that $20 a day and I didn't have to struggle because I could just go take my methadone and I'd be fine.
Yeah.
And it kind of was made it easier to be in addiction, you know what I mean? So we were on methadone and they found way too high of a dose. We told them like how much we were using. When I say we, I mean me and my sister who were both addiction. Right?
Oh, you're breaking up, Pumpkin.
Yeah, I think Travis is.
So my dad would literally drive us from like, we'd go from our house that was like the boonies to like Michigan City, the pharmacy. We'd take our methadone, and before we got home, we'd be nodded out in the car.
Yeah.
Like that's how strong the methadone was, you know. And we didn't notice it. We'd wake up and we'd be like, we want to use, because it didn't help with the cravings at all. Only Suboxone helped with the cravings, because the difference is that Suboxone, it fills up your opiate receptors, and methadone doesn't. It does to an extent, not as much. So Suboxone fills up enough opiate receptors that you don't want to use as bad. You don't think about it as much. It's all mostly mental. It's not like physical, you know, or biological, because your opiate receptors are actually full. But with methadone, it only fills up like 30% or something like that. Don't quote me on that because I don't know the exact percentage, but I know it's something like that. And so you still get those cravings, you know. And then, so I was on methadone. We were on methadone, me and my sister, and we were kind of still like, we would another thing was that we would tell our dad, oh, we're going to get our methadone. We're going to go walk to get it today or whatever. But it was such a far walk down the highway. We were hitchhiking right into Mission City and picking up. That's what we were doing every single time.
And I thought things were good, so I was going to work.
Yeah. Yeah. And at this point in time, I started using the needle, right? And that's when things really changed for me and my sister. Things really went downhill when we started using the needle. And I'm going to go ahead and say, like, that yes, when you use, it doesn't matter how you use, it's all the same. You're still using, it's still the same substance. But it was definitely a game changer in the sense that you could do a higher dose without. I found it was easier to overdose while I was on the needle because it was harder to gauge how much I was doing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I was overdosing a lot at this time, and I was getting really depressed. And every time I woke up from an overdose, and I would get brought back by people. We were, I talked about a little bit about how we went to the recovery houses, and that girl tried doing an exorcism on me, and then I found myself down on the strip, right?
Well, hold on. Let's just go back, because let's go back to you guys were with me in Mission, and I thought things were good, and I was going to work, and the drive was 2 hours in, 2 hours home with an 8-hour day. You guys were hitchhiking in and using, and we hit a point where I realized you were using, and I said, I can't take this. You got to go to recovery.
Yeah.
And that's where I drove you to the first recovery place. That,
Yeah.
and a lot of them are just money farms. They're not recovery.
They're not like that as much anymore. It's harder to get away with it now, but there are still places like that. But most of the places now are like more. They lean towards more of like the treatment center aspect than the recovery house. Recovery house where people are allowed to live there and do recovery their own way kind of thing. That's more of like a second stage type thing now. They don't really just let you do that anymore because one, the drugs are too strong. You have to have gone to detox in order to get into like any house pretty much. And two, they don't really want to give you as much freedom early on in your recovery with all the statistics and knowledge we do have.
Yeah.
It's harder to stay clean, right? That's why they stopped doing the 8-day taper of Suboxone. When we first went to treatment, they put us on an 8-day taper where every single day they'd start us on like 16 milligrams or 18 milligrams it was. And then they just brought us down like 4 milligrams, 5 milligrams, whatever a day. And then until we were off of it after 8 days. And I actually stayed clean for 7 months that time, and so did my sister. But when we went back to treatment, they weren't doing that anymore. They were finding that because of the way that it fills your opioid receptors and the mental aspect is that when you would do the 8-day taper, they would find that it was a higher relapse rate because you would come off of the opioid replacement and instantly have cravings. So then people wouldn't be strong enough because they'd be so early on in their recovery that they'd end up having to use, right? And so then that's when they kind of started the long-term opioid replacement where they say, no, you should stay on it for up to 3 years. And I agree with that, actually. Personally, I agree with it. I think that when I was on Suboxone steadily for 3 years, and for 2 of those years, I didn't use opiates at all. And yeah, it wasn't by choice. It was because I was being abused or whatever. But I wouldn't have been able to do that if it wasn't for Suboxone. You know what I mean? Even if it was to avoid like the beatings at the time, I wouldn't have even been able to try, if it wasn't for me being on Suboxone. Like, thank God I was on it because I was already living in hell. And then to add that onto it would just be like treacherous, right?
Yeah.
So my dad found out. Well, actually, what happened was our cousin Guinevere came over one day because my dad's really like one of his best friends. I'm not going to name him because it's not my place, but one of my dad's best friends. He was dealing with his daughter, our cousin. We call her our cousin because we grew up with her since we were like young, right? She was 5. She was 4 years younger than us. So at this point, we're like 19 or 20, and she's like 16, I think. And so we're 20 and she's 16, and we find out she's dealing with the same thing as us. She's an addict. And so my dad brings her over to our house thinking we're doing so good and that maybe we can help her, not knowing anything about recovery or anything at this time. And of course, we all just triggered each other and used. And I remember we were walking around Walmart. We went shopping that night. And the reason he found out was because she was so messed up. And it was really, really obvious. And I kept telling her, hey, wake up, And then this random guy came up to us in Walmart and was like, is she okay? And we're like, yeah, she's fine. She's just really tired, right? And then we came home, and then my dad took us aside and said, see that? That's what you guys look like on a daily basis. And that was like for the first like thing for me that went, oh my God, I look like that? That's what I look like on a daily basis? Like, oh my God, it's so embarrassing, That's what I was thinking in my head. And then he takes us to the recovery houses and stuff, and she was still like in and out of recovery, my cousin. And then while we were on the Surrey Strip, she ends up passing away. And that was huge for me because at that time, me and her weren't talking. We were not on good terms. So when she passed away, I felt a lot of guilt and a lot of shame around her passing. And I was homeless and I was on the strip at the time, and so I just used. Like, it's so, for a
Breathe,
normal
Duncan.
person,
Breathe, baby.
Sweetheart.
Breathe.
like for a normal person going through something like grief because somebody that you love overdosed, you wouldn't think, oh, I'm going to go use the same drug that killed that person. That's not normal. But for us, that is normal because that's how we cope with trauma. That's how we cope with the things that we don't like going on in our lives. So when that happened, I instantly used, and I felt like even more shit about doing that. You know? And then after she passed, her father came down to the strip, and I remember my dad saying that he knew what he was going to tell us, and he was going to say, you guys need to get clean because you could end up like her. And he came down, and once he seen like where we were living and like the reality of what was
Let me
going
tell
on.
this part, Pumpkin.
Yeah.
So he waited till he found the strength to be able to go down and see them and say what he found the words, and he had the words, and I brought him down to the strip, and we found them in their tent on the side of the road, and we called them and told them we were there. They were inside the tent and they were getting high. We were standing there, and then they came out of the tent and they hugged him. They said, "Hi, Uncle," and they hugged him, and they told him they loved him. And his eyes filled up with tears, and I saw that in that moment he realized there was no words that could help. Anything we had to say, they already knew, and there was no point in saying it. And all we did was actually hug at that point.
Yeah. And we felt so bad because like we knew what he was going through right at the time, and that was hard for all of us, and we all just missed her so much, and I felt so shitty because I just remember it took us forever to get out of the tent. We were just not doing well at all, right? And then things just got worse from there. Soon it started turning into wintertime, right? It was summer when we first started living down there. Started raining. Back when it was the 30 strip, and it was Tent City, they had the front room. Now it's Lookout. Now it's the shelter. It's the shelter now. But before, it used to be called the front room, and you could go there and do your laundry. You could go on a list and you could do your laundry. You could go on a list and have a shower. You could go on a list and use the bathroom. They had like 12 beds in the back where you could go on a list by 7 p.m. and then you'd be allowed to go in and have a bed for the night. But there was probably well over 500 people on the strip. 12 beds, getting on a list to do your laundry, 500 people. You had to wait outside the doors for them to call you. If you missed your name, you had to restart on the list.
All in addiction.
It was crazy, right? And I remember we could only do our laundry maybe like once a month, and you weren't allowed to use in there or use in the bathroom, but people were anyway. So people would go in the bathroom and use and nod out and then lock the door. So you'd have to just hope and wait that they were okay and wait until they got out. And there were times where I literally, I peed myself. You know what I mean? I had to, there's no other bathrooms around there. There's no washrooms in that vicinity at all at this time. There is now, but at the time there wasn't. So you had to wait for that washroom. People were just like, it was like downtown East Side, you know? People were just going wherever. Like, you were just doing what you could, right? At that point. And like, one thing I find with long-term, like, opiate use is that you lose that alarm system of, oh, I have to go to the bathroom. Make sure you make it. You lose that sense. So your body doesn't tell you, I have to go now. You just have to go now, right in that moment. And you pray to God and hope that there's a washroom around, you know what I mean? Like, because that is a effect of long-term opiate use. I was talking to someone the other day who was like, oh, I don't know why, but I don't get that call from my body saying I have to go to the bathroom. I'm like, that's from opiate use. And she was using, right? And she's like, it is? She didn't know, right? And I'm like, yeah, that's from long-term opiate use. It's a side effect. And she was like, oh my God, that makes so much sense. A lot of people don't know that, right?
Yeah.
And at this time, I was like, it wasn't just that was going on. I was overdosing like every other day because I was just getting whatever I could get. So I wasn't using a steady dealer. I wasn't using a steady supply from somebody I knew who was making it. It wasn't like that. It was like I was just doing whatever I could get, right? And whatever I could get meant doing different stuff every day by different people. And so, and because I was using the needle and not being able to gauge how much my tolerance was, and I didn't know that stuff yet. There was no safe injection sites to go in and teach you. It wasn't like that. So I was overdosing a lot. And honestly, 80% of those overdoses were on purpose because I was so depressed. I just wanted to die. I remember.
I hate to break in, but we do have to go to commercial.
Okay.
So hold on to that thought. I do want to hear what you're talking about. But it is time for us to go take a little break. And we'll be back in just under 4 minutes. So 3 3/4.
Okay.
We are live here on paceradio.net and cbgtv.com.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
Cannabis edibles are an effective way to manage pain and other ailments, especially when you deal with your trusted partner, Legacy 420, in Tyendinaga Mohawk territory. You see, we lab test every product on site to ensure proper dosage every time, which is critical when consuming cannabis edibles. All Legacy 420 edibles are made by our classically trained baker and chocolatier, and we also have super tasty vegan options.
Our baker has been in the industry for 25 years. She's also a chocolatier. Everything from savory to sweet, your chocolate bars, brownies, butter tarts, you name it, we make it.
Talk to our knowledgeable Cannatex about our incredible variety available. Give your trusted partners a call. Legacy 420 out on your road.
In February of 2022, the Victoria Cannabis Buyers Club and Ted Smith were fined $6.5 million. This for helping 8,500 patients with access to medical cannabis. In our interview with Ted, he spoke to us about how people can donate to help in an upcoming court challenge. And here is part of that interview. From what I've seen lately, I believe that you've got something that you're trying to do as far as fundraising to deal with this next court challenge.
For now, people can write checks directly to Jack Lloyd Law Corporation or send e-transfers to save the VCBC at gmail.com. I guess those are the two easiest ways for people to help right now.
PACE Radio is the People Advocating Cannabis Education Radio Network.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420.
Are you a cannabis content creator? Are you looking for a place to have your content seen? If you answer yes to both questions, then you need to check out cbgtv.com. CBG TV broadcasting to a worldwide audience. Find us at cbgtv.com.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.
Welcome back. I'm the only one here. Welcome back to the Mushie. We are live here at paceradio.net and cbgtv.com. And I think we just proved it there, which was really great. And I think he's going to go fulfill that favor for you.
Oh,
yeah, being Al. So I'm waiting for the official thumbs up, but I'm pretty sure.
Okay, sorry. At the last second, I was like, "Oh my god, I do got to go pee."
That's funny. It's like exactly what we were just talking about. Okay, so yeah, this is good. This is where we get into like where the microdoses play a part into my life. So before that, though, I just want to say every time that I overdosed, I was brought back by Narcan, and Narcan, otherwise known as naloxone, it saves lives. Everybody should carry it on them, even if you don't use, because I like personally when I'm walking down the street downtown or where I know that there's a high level of people who are using drugs in that area, I see someone sleeping on the side of the road, I'll just nudge them and ask them if they're okay, just to see if they're alive, because there's been times where I've rolled them over and they weren't, and I had to Narcan them, and so learn how to use it. If you have a daughter, a mother, a sister, a friend that is in addiction, have Narcan. Doesn't matter what drug it is, because it can save lives, and it's in everything. You don't know when someone's going to get a wrong batch. Like, there's also an app, I forget what it's called.
Yeah.
What?
That you can check whether or not yours is.
No, it's an app. I forget what it's called, but it's like if you're a user and you're scared, say that you were just in recovery and you relapse and you're scared that you might overdose on this specific batch or whatever, you can click. You can click on it right when you're about to use. You click on the app. Oh, what happened?
Nothing.
You're working.
Okay. You can click on the app and
that's the one where if you don't respond, it'll phone you.
Yeah, so then it gives you 10 minutes. So you use during that 10 minutes, and if you don't respond after the 10 minutes, then an ambulance will come to your house or wherever you're using and make sure that you're okay. So I forget it's called. What's it called? Life something.
You looked up.
Lifeguard app.
Oh, okay.
That's what it's called. Yeah. So that's a really good app too. But Narcan, everybody should know how to use it for sure.
Hey, also talk about the one where you got carfentanil with benzos, because people don't know, and this can save lives if people know this.
Yes. So they're telling everybody right now that if you get benzo dope, which is carfentanil or fentanyl with benzos, then you can't bring them back. It doesn't work on benzos, which is true. It doesn't work on benzos. But it does work on fentanyl and carfentanil, which is an opiate. So here's what I believe the science is around it. I overdosed. I was clean for 2 years off of opiates. I overdosed, and my sister Narcaned me 30 times. She didn't stop. She kept Narcanning me. She luckily had enough Narcan in her house. She actually had to go back to the place and get more Narcan, and she ran 20 minutes there and 20 minutes back to save my life while her boyfriend did CPR on me. And yes, they did call the paramedics. The paramedics came. I woke up, wouldn't go to the hospital because I'm crazy. And and I ended up going back under because it's true that you can go back under once you've been Narcaned. But they kept Narcanning me, and I woke up eventually, right? And so what we learned was that, and this is what I believe. I haven't checked the science behind it, but it makes sense to me. And that is that when you Narcan somebody who's done benzodope, and what Narcan does is it pushes out the opiates that are in the opiate receptor, and it takes its place, making your body believe that it is filled with the opiate receptors are full, even though they're not. And that's what kind of brings you back, is that those opiates being pushed out of your system. And so with benzodope, the reason why they say it doesn't work is because it doesn't work against benzos, but it does work against the opiates. So the only reason you're overdosing usually with benzodope isn't because of the benzos, it's because the combination of benzos and fentanyl or opiates together is lethal. So when you do that and your system's not used to it, mixing those two drugs, you're going to overdose. But just because somebody's on benzos doesn't mean that you shouldn't Narcan them. You should Narcan them, because if you Narcan them enough times, it'll push the enough of the opiates out of their system that they'll only have the benzos in their system. And it's not that they took too much benzos, it's that they took the combination of the two together. So if you Narcan somebody enough times and get enough of that opiate out of their system, they'll only be on the benzos and they'll wake up. I know, because my sister did it to me and it worked.
Yeah, so normally they would stop after 7 or 8 hits of Narcan, sometimes even less. But if they were to keep going, it would, because that was carfentanil. If it was fentanyl, it probably wouldn't have taken 34 hits. Right?
No. It probably still would have taken more, but not as much, for sure.
I've taken the St. John's ambulance course for the Narcan, and they recommend you only do 3.
Wow, that's crazy.
Isn't that gross?
You know what? If you do the research at Narcan, you can Narcan someone 1,000 times. There's no you can't overdose on Narcan. It's impossible. You can Narcan people too early, because if you Narcan someone and they're still breathing and they're not, dead, then they're gonna be really sick, and that's why when they wake up, they're sick, right? And they want the first thing they want is dope, because you'll sometimes see people puking or whatever after they get Narcan. Usually that means that they were Narcan too early, but it doesn't matter. It's okay to Narcan someone too early, because the worst thing that's going to happen is they're going to feel a little sick. But they're not going to, it's not bad for them. They're not going to die from it. You can Narcan someone a million times, and their body can take it, you know what I mean? So it's better to Narcan someone over and over and over again. If they're still breathing when you Narcan them, because what I find is that, especially with the benzodope, when you Narcan them, they'll breathe and then they'll go back under. So when they say only 3 times, well, if I Narcan someone and they wake up and they breathe and look at me and then go right back under, I'm supposed to just stop after 3? I can't do that. I would never do that. I would continue to hit them, because if they're still breathing when I hit them, there's a chance that they're going to wake up.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Obviously, it's different if somebody's doesn't have a pulse and they've been dead the entire time. That's different. If you come across someone and they're dead on the scene and you try Narcanning them, they haven't breathed after 3 times and they weren't breathing when you got there, that's different. But if you hit them and they breathe and they look at you and they take that breath,
keep going.
Keep doing it. It's worth it, because you could save a life. And sometimes they will wake up and they won't want to go to they won't want to see an ambulance, or they won't want to go to the hospital. That's fine. You did your part.
Anybody like that?
Yeah. Well, after you've overdosed so many times, and that kind of brings us back to what we were talking about before. Like, I just wanted to die. I was so done with my life. I didn't know there was a better way. I thought I was gonna live like that forever. And I was in my manic depressive. So what happened with my mental health is I had been manic. We talked about how I had been manic all through high school. Well, when I graduated and I wasn't in high school anymore, I dropped. And I went right into depressive. And when I was in depressive, I was suicidal. And I was so suicidal. Like, there was times where I wrote suicide notes to my parents, you know. I was so ready to die. And every time I'd wake up from an overdose and somebody Narcaned me, I didn't wake up thinking, oh my God, I'm so happy I'm alive. I'm so happy I didn't die. I woke up thinking, oh my God, why did you save me? Why couldn't I just die? Why do I keep waking up? You know? And I would get mad at that person. Stop saving me. Like, I just want to die. I just want to get out of this hell. You know? And that's how I felt. And then my dad started kind of working with the microdoses at this time. He had been for a little bit. And he told me to take them. He told me to take them even if I was in addiction. Just take them every single day. Take 2 in the morning and 2 at night. And I did every single day for 3 years. And I haven't had a suicidal thought since. I've had thoughts, obviously, of like, not suicidal though. I haven't had a suicidal thought where I'm going to kill myself since I started taking the microdoses. They saved my life. They honestly saved my life. Like, they made it so that the way that my dad explained it to me was perfect, is that it rewired the brain. So when you do drugs, they leaves holes in your brain, and it kills those neural pathways. And they tell you that, but they don't tell you that your brain can make new neural pathways. And so what happens is when you go through any kind of event in your life, it creates a neural pathway. So whatever vibration you're in, depending on what mood you're in, that's what the neural pathway is going to be vibrating in, right? So if I'm mad, it's going to be, when I'm mad, I'm vibrating in a certain frequency. That neural pathway in my brain is going to vibrate in that frequency when it's made. When you go through a traumatic event, it doesn't do that. It doesn't vibrate at a certain frequency. It creates what I like to call a knot or a loop. And that's why you can't stop thinking about it. And you just keep having flashbacks and you have triggers, and you can't stop thinking about it, you know? Even when you thought that you finally stopped thinking about it, it comes back, right? Some smell or something you see or something reminds you of it, and boom, you're right back in it, right? You're right back in, like, you're there, you know? Well, what these microdoses did for me is they took me out of that. They undid the knot, you know? So I actually was just talking to, when I was in Abbotsford, I just left an abusive relationship that I was in for 2 years. It was the worst and best day of my life. I ended up being homeless in Abbotsford for like a month or 2. And I was staying with this guy who was staying with a family. And actually, one of my friends, I was talking to her, the mom in the family that I lived with. She was a little bit older than me, not that much older than me. I had spoke to her because she was depressed about the microdoses, and she just messaged me on Facebook the other day and told me that she's been taking microdoses for the past 2 years and that she moved back to Victoria. This is the one that lost her daughter to a fentanyl overdose. She was 14 years old. She moved back to Victoria, and she's doing really well. She's really happy. She's back with her family. She's sober. She's like, you were the first person to tell me about the microdoses. And I was like, oh my God, you were listening? When I was talking about that? Fuck, I feel like people are just listening to me blab, you know? But she actually was listening, and she went and got on the microdoses, and she told me you saved my life. I'm sober now, and the microdoses saved my life. Thank you." And I was like, "Oh my God, it's crazy!" Like,
Thank you for sharing that with us. That's beautiful.
yeah,
Sure,
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mm.
That's pretty powerful, because you know what you just shared. I mean, I know that she came to you and said that, but while you were telling that story, you were telling your dad, "Hey, I listened to you, and look at what it did." And I don't know if you saw, but I saw that power come over his face, and again, his intense, unconditional love for you. And it was just, again, a pretty beautiful moment that we got to share with everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks. Thank you, Dad.
I love you, Pumpkin.
Love you too.
Okay, so you're taking microdoses, you're sharing the knowledge, which is also beautiful. And what's going on now? Like, what's the next step of the story?
So I decided to go back to treatment.
Well, we should.
Oh no, I decided to go to treatment for the first time.
Yeah.
So what happens was, so I was sitting on the Surrey Strip. We'd already the dog attack that I spoke about earlier. It was all over, and I mentioned it was all over the news. Well, CBC News was the one that they're the ones that covered that story, and so I was sitting down on the strip one day. My sister would kind of, do her thing, and she'd leave me, and I'd sit there, and I always sat in one spot. Like you knew that I could be there because I'd always sit there with all my stuff. Just I didn't want anyone to steal my stuff because my stuff really mattered. My stuff always matters so much, right? And I would be sitting there with all my stuff, and then one day this guy was filming, and came down, and he's like, "Hey, I recognize you. Weren't you one of those girls that got attacked by the dog like last year or whatever?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "In Richmond, right?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Oh my God, how'd you get here? How did you end up here? Can I do a little interview with you?" I'm like, "Sure." He's like, "I'm doing a story on fentanyl addiction." And I'm like, "Okay, cool. Yeah, why not?" Right. And I'm thinking that this is just like a documentary thing he's doing, and there's going to be like a part of it that's me, right? And I do the interview with him, and then I go on, and there was a phone, just like there was a bathroom and stuff at the front room. There was a phone there that you could also get on a list and use, right? So I did, and I called my dad, and I was like, "Dad, I'm going to be on the TV. I'm going to be on the news." Well, 2 weeks later, it came out, and it was Face of Fentanyl, Katie's story, and it was just me. And it has over 10 million views on YouTube. It's gone viral like 3 times now. And it saved it's another thing that saved my life.
I actually have it queued, and if it's okay, I'd like to play it. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay, let me do this. I'm going to share the screen, and it's this one, I believe.
Okay.
No, hang on. It's
not the right one?
No, it's this one. Okay.
You ready?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
There you go. You're up now.
Hang on. Did it come up?
Yeah, YouTube did, but it's not. Those aren't any of the right ones.
Oh, that's why. Hold on.
Okay.
Share screen. It's this one. Sorry.
Katie settles in to tell her story.
There we go. Perfect.
How she ended up living on the street 3 months ago, addicted to fentanyl.
Well, I've been using, it's actually funny. Well, not funny, it's terrible. I have a really addictive personality. I've always been like addicted to something, whether it was shopping or Facebook or whatever. And I did an oxy. I got addicted right away. And then I finally found a regular dealer, and I started picking up all the time. I remember the day the fentanyl came out, and my dealer said, I've got these new pills. They're fake oxys. He didn't tell me they were fentanyl because nobody knew what fentanyl was yet. He just said they're 100 times stronger and they're only $5 more. And I was just like, okay, because I was getting a pretty high tolerance at this point.
OxyContin led to fake 80s, fentanyl posing as OxyContin. Immediately, Katie wanted nothing else.
I could buy one of these fake 80s, put them into 4 lines, and 2 lines would last me a full day. That's how strong it was. And if I did a full pill, I would OD.
Katie says she's overdosed 11 times, most recently a few days ago. Brought back by paramedics or friends on the strip who have naloxone, the powerful opioid antidote.
Every time I do dope, I know I'm taking a risk. I know that I might die, but like, it doesn't matter how many times I've OD'd, I still use the next day because the withdrawals are so bad.
Katie has been in the news before. She and her sister attacked by a Rottweiler cross back in December. Katie was badly hurt and spent time in hospital. She says that cemented her addiction to fentanyl. As she talks, blood starts to seep through her makeup.
Katie, you're 22. Why would you risk this?
Well, at first it was just fun, right? It was just for fun. It was just a party drug that, like, and there's been some things that I've gone through, and it helped with a lot of pain. And especially after, that dog attack, I just couldn't stop,
I asked Katie if she worries about herself and her future.
Sometimes. I mean, I don't know. I just like to take things one day at a time, right? I'll kind of just go with it and hopefully, hope for the best.
For now, the best Katie can hope for is to wake up from her next fix of fentanyl. Eric Rankin, CBC News, Surrey.
That video, in going viral, also found some angels. Oh, hang on.
Is she frozen? Oh, no.
No, I'm not frozen.
Okay.
Yeah, there we go. No, just I had the video kept playing into something else.
Oh.
But we had the video shook a lot of things up. It shook up a lot of people's perception of what an addict looks like. It created a lot of waves, and there was a lot of people went to the strip to find Katie. And somebody named Mark was an angel, and I was overwhelmed at that point that happens. I was very overwhelmed. I was going to the strip, every second day at least, showing up there.
Yeah.
And I was working at the time, and I had a lot of people overwhelm me. I was contacted by, Dr. Phil. I was contacted by Inside Edition. I was contacted by all these people after the dog attack. When the Surrey Strip happened, it just became another barrage. And I had a friend of mine, Jeff, who is a lawyer, and he reached out to me and he said, and thank you very much, Jeff. He reached out and he said, do you need any help? And I said, yes, there's all these people offering stuff, and that industry is so full of weasels and jackals, and I'm so done for that I don't have time or energy to do this. So he said, send them to me. And he went through them. And one day, my ex Marnie and I, their mother Marnie and I, were called in to have a meeting with some people. And there was a gentleman at the table. And he offered to send Katie to recovery. And I asked what the conditions were, and there wasn't any, and it didn't make sense, but it was a beautiful thing. And then I said, well, here's the problem with the store. And he said, and I said, she's a twin, and they're both an addiction. And he said, well, then I guess I better raise twice as much money and make this happen. And he did. And he allowed my daughters to feel a period of what I would call real recovery, in the aspect of you learn there are other possibilities. Even if you relapse, that version gave both my daughters lots of skills and lots of tools, even in their relapse, and lots of knowledge. Mark, I just got to say thank you. You're an incredible person, and honestly, you've changed our lives. It's been a beautiful thing.
This is a good time, nice time to stop for our second break, since we are extending by a half an hour.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, so we get to go for another half an hour. So we will be right back after this message from our sponsors. You get about 3.5 minutes if you get to run to the washroom. Maybe decide at the beginning of the break, Steve. We are live here on paceradio.net and cbgtv.com.
We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net. Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420.
Are you a cannabis content creator? Are you looking for a place to have your content seen? If you answer yes to both questions, then you need to check out cbgtv.com. CBGTV, broadcasting to a worldwide audience. Find us at cbgtv.com.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
PACE Radio is the People Advocating Cannabis Education Radio Network.
Did you know that the Pace Radio Network isn't just a radio network? That's right, because most, but not all of our programming is now done via video and is then podcasted at paceradio.net. So if you want to watch our programming, you'll find us on the Pace Radio Network's Facebook page, plus the show's own page, and you'll find us live on the network's YouTube channel. And don't forget, you can find it all, video and audio, at paceradio.net.
Legacy 420 have an awesome array of cannabis-infused beverages, from pop to Nature's Nectar's teas, all in amazing flavors. What a selection! We even have a delicious mango-infused juice, and let me tell you, it's delicious.
Everything is infused in-house, so we buy our syrup from the same place where everybody else buys their syrup for their pop, and the infusion is done in the lab. It's all canned here, labeled here, produced 100% on Tyndonega.
We have two lines of drinks. One's called our Nature's Nectar. That was our original line that we came out with. And then we also have a line under the Red E brand. We have them in 10 milligrams, 30 milligram, and 60 milligram cans.
What a great selection for a get-together with friends or after a long day. Remember, if you want to wet your whistle with on-site lab-tested products, come see your trusted partner. Legacy 420 out on your road.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
Welcome back to the Mushy Moment, streaming live to you here at paceradio.net, cbgtv.com, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Boxcast, and on Roku and Fire Stick. Hey, I also wanted to say thank you to Eric Rankin for that story, because in that story he did a good job of humanizing an addict and humanizing addiction, because prior to that it was pretty
stigmatized.
Yeah, pretty stigmatized, and Yeah. So I just want to say thank you, Eric. And just so you know, Katie, he actually contacts me, fairly regular to see how you guys are doing. And
Aww.
I'll send him to the podcast and let him.
Yeah, I think you'd love that.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, so where was she? I'm sure she'll come back. Who knows what's going on if there's technical or whatever. But where were we?
Well, I think we were talking about the video, and then so we talk about the video.
Next is it leads to the recovery, right?
Yes. So we end up. I'll talk a little bit about the what's it called? The intervention. So we're on the strip, and my dad calls us. He by this time he had gotten me a little flip phone because I had moved from the strip and I'd moved to this place near Gateway Skytrain station, and it was like a ravine kind of with like a little hill kind of, and you could there was trails that were made through there, and I didn't want to be on the strip anymore. So this guy I was seeing the guy I was seeing at the time, he's actually passed away now as well. And we were staying in our tent there, and my dad came and visited. And I guess Jessie had told him where I was, my sister, and she told him where I was, so he came and he found me. And I don't know, Dad, if you want to tell this part.
This was a bit of a heartbreaking episode for me. There was a reality to where things go, but it was raining at that point as well. And I came down the mountainside or the hillside, down through the trail, and came around the corner, and your tent was missing a few poles, and it was half collapsed, and it was all kind of flooded out and covered in mud and whatnot. And I called you, and you came out, and it didn't matter, because when I look back now, it didn't matter, because when we hugged, it was all okay. The love of the hearts makes things okay, and it takes away the fear that the eyes get from looking at the avatar. So my eyes looked at your avatar, and it made my heart hurt. But when we hugged, my heart was okay.
Mm-hmm.
Where do we go from that one?
So he had decided to give me this flip phone because he wanted to make sure I was okay, because on the strip there was more people. I could get Narcan easier. When I was isolating myself in this ravine, it was a lot easier for me to die, right? Because I didn't have people around. I was left alone there sometimes. So he wanted me to make sure I was okay. So he gave me this flip phone, and he called it one day later on, and he said, "We're going to come down, me and Mom, and we're going to come down, and we're going to take you out for dinner." And me and my sister were like, okay, that'd be awesome, right? So the day that we were supposed to go down for dinner, I had moved my tent back to the strip because I didn't know when he was going to show up, right? So I think the phone had maybe died or something at this point. And so we're sitting in a tent on the strip, and my dad shows up with my auntie and my cousin and my mom, and everyone's there. My sister's baby daddy, was Andrina there? I don't know.
I can't remember.
My brother was there, and the whole family, right? And they started an intervention on the strip. And everyone on the strip was like, and we were like, oh my God, no, not here, you know? But everyone on the strip was like, go to dinner with them, you know? Get out of here. Because they had been, everybody there had been telling us the entire time, this isn't for you, this is not for you. You're better than this, you know? And I would just reply like, well, no, I'm not. I don't think I am better than this. This is where I'm going to die, you know? And anyways, we go, I forget what restaurant we went to. And while we're having dinner at this restaurant, this guy named Todd and this girl named Carolyn show up. And they sit down with us. And they tell us, look, and I'd met Carolyn once before. She was in New West at the dentist. She was waiting to see the dentist, and she was on her phone, and she came across my video. And her dentist told her, hey, it doesn't look like we're going to get you in today. You can either reschedule or you can go to Surrey, our Surrey location. And she decided to go to the Surrey location. And she's like, after her dentist appointment, she's like, I'm going to go down to the Surrey strip and see if I can find her. So she comes down and she turns the corner right across the street where the BC Lions place is. And she sees me right there on the corner. And she jumps out of her car and she runs up to me and she says, oh my God, it's you. And I was like, hi. And she's like, I want you to come to recovery. And I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, I have a bed for you at my house. Right now, if you come with me, you can get in. I'll keep the bed for you. And I was like, I can't leave my sister. She's like, your sister? I was like, I can't leave her. I can't leave her down here by herself. I have to find her. And I'd been trying to find her that day for a long time. I hadn't slept for like 3 days. And she's like, okay, well, you call me when you're ready. Here's my number. And I didn't tell anybody about this because I remember I was really depressed and I didn't want to go to recovery and make my life better. I just wanted to die, right? And I thought that these treatment centers were the same as these recovery houses that I'd already been to, right? So I thought it was all the same. I thought treatment and recovery houses were the same. And I hadn't learned that they aren't the same. And so I thought, oh, I've already tried that, you know? It's not going to work for me. I've already tried it and it didn't work last time. Why would it work now, right? And so I didn't say anything. And then now I find myself sitting in this restaurant with her and my sister and this man. And I was wearing a toque and it was covering half my face because I had an abscess on my forehead, like right here. And it was huge. And he was talking to me and they pitched the line and they said, look, we have beds for both of you. Come to just do a walkthrough. You don't have to do it. You don't have to say yes. We're not going to make you go. Just do a walkthrough of the facility. We'll introduce you to some people. And if you want to come, then you can come. If not, then we'll bring you back to the strip. And I was like, okay. We had decided, okay, we'll do a walkthrough, right? And sorry, my back's itchy. And so yeah, we set up a couple days later to go and do a walkthrough with my dad. And my dad was coming to pick us up, and I should mention right before Todd and Carolyn left, Todd came up to me and he said, just go to the hospital, okay? Promise me you'll go to the hospital. And I was like, well, I don't want to go to the hospital. He's like, you have to. The infection's really bad. And it could kill you. And I was like, okay, I'll go to the hospital. I don't know if I did or not. I don't remember. I think I did, actually. Dad, I think you took me.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did end up going, yeah. And then a couple days later, my dad, was it the first one that we went? Was the time that me and Jesse fought the first time? Yes, it was.
Which?
The time we fought?
Oh,
you don't remember?
no.
Okay, so it was the first time. So the first time we go to do the walkthrough, I'm sitting down in my normal spot on the strip, and my sister is nowhere to be found for like 3 days, and I was starting to freak out. The day before this, was walking so fast looking for her that I ran into a pole and knocked myself out. And this girl woke me up and she cleaned me off and my head was bleeding and we went. My dad, I went into the front room and I seen a note that said, "Katie, call your dad." And I was like, oh shit. So I called him and he's like, "I'm on my way to come pick you guys up. And I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, I'm on my way to come pick you up. I thought you guys were going to do the walkthrough today or whatever. Oh no, that was the day we went to treatment. This was the day we did the walkthrough. You picked us up halfway there.
Oh yeah, you guys.
I was like, so I'm in the back seat. My sister's in the front seat, and I'm just like, I want to die. I don't want to do this. Take me back. I give up. Like, just kill me now. I just want to die. And my sister turns around and she says, "You always say that. You always say you want to die. If you're gonna do it, just do it then." And so I grabbed her by her head over the seat, and I just started punching her in the head. Right?
Not funny.
I know it's not funny at all. It's terrible. It's really sad, actually. And and then I get out of the car and I just walk away, and she comes out following me, and she's like, "You always just walk away. That's what you do. You just walk away from all your problems. You run away from all your problems. You don't want to do this. You don't want to do this for me and for Jaden and for Dad." And she was right. But I was so just depressed at the time that I couldn't see that, and so I was like, "No, I'm not going," And then she's like, "You can't do this. Don't you care about us?" And she just starts like hitting me, right? We get into this brawl in the middle of McDonald's parking lot. We're in the drive-thru for McDonald's. And my dad gets out of the car and he splits us up and he's like, "Stop, the cops are gonna get called. Let's get the hell out of here." So we left. And my dad's crying and he calls Carolyn and he says, "Help me. I don't know what to do. They're crazy. I can't get them there, blah, blah, blah," whatever he says to her. And then she's like, "Well, let's not do the walkthrough today, but I'll talk to them one-on-one." So we meet up with her. I'm not at the house, but like near there. And first she takes me for a walk, and my dad stays with my sister and calms her down. She takes me for a walk and we talk. Then we switched. And he goes to my dad after and she says, "They're not ready. They're not ready to do this." Right? And my dad's like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "They're not ready they have to go on their own terms. They have to do it for themselves." And then I think it was the next day we were going to do the walkthrough. We had decided to do it again. And this time my dad brought my nephew. And he was about 3 at the time. And when my nephew was around, my sister's son, things were different. We would try and be okay for him, And this time, my nephew was there, and we were trying to be okay. We didn't want him to see us like that. We told him, "Mommy and Auntie are just camping. We're just camping." And he actually believed we were camping, and he's like, "Why can't I come?" We're like, "Well, because it's not for kids, right?" And we went to go do the walkthrough, and we get there, and my nephew's just running around, and he's having a great time, and just to see him in that place was a huge thing for us, I think, because we knew we couldn't fight each other. We knew we couldn't fight anybody because we weren't going to do that in front of him. We tried so hard when he was around, and that was a really good strategic thing that you did there. And so we did the walkthrough successfully, and we didn't really decide whether or not we wanted to stay. We left that day and went back to the strip. And I think it might have been like 3 or 4 days later that I did the call thing where I called my dad, and my dad said, "I'm on my way to come pick you up." And I'm like,
A couple weeks later.
"What?"
It's actually a couple weeks later.
Oh, is it? Oh my God.
They actually call me and tell me that they can't hold the beds for much longer, and you guys need to make a decision. So I talked to Jessie, and she doesn't talk to you, and then I show up to the strip to pick you up.
And I'm like, "What the heck's going on here?" And you're like, "Well, I'm taking you to recovery." And I'm like, "I'm not going to recovery. And what are you talking about?" And you're like, "Yeah, well, Jesse's going." And I'm like, "What?" And he's like, "I talked to your sister, and your sister decided that she's going to go. She's going to go to recovery, and she's going to do it for Jaden, and you should too." And I was like, "Well, if she's going, I'm going. I can't be down here by myself, right?" So I decided to go, and in that moment, my dad watched me sell half of what I owned.
That was rather interesting because you started to argue with me, and some of the other addicts around you went, "No, you're going."
Yeah.
As soon as they found, as soon as they went, "Oh, it's Westy," you're going.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I sold a bunch of shit, got some dope because I needed to get high before I went to treatment, And I made up my stuff, and this I do regret because I did use in front of my dad. At this time, I before that I had really tried sheltering my usage in front of him. But I knew that this could be the last time I ever use again, right? So I just didn't care in that moment, and I used in front of him, and I do regret that because no father should have to see that. Yeah, that was really hard for me when I was in treatment to have to look back on that and think, wow, I did that in front of my dad, But I did it because I thought it was like letting go of my best friend in that moment. It was like letting go of something I loved, I was so scared to let go of it because I didn't know what was going to happen. I'd been through so much, and I didn't have as much knowledge about addiction and about trauma and about recovery as I do now. But I knew that when my mom looked at me in the eyes and said, "Why can't you just stop?" I knew that there was something there that made it so I couldn't stop. You know what I mean? And I knew that it was because I didn't like how I felt inside. I just didn't know why I didn't like how I felt inside. And I go to treatment with my sister. What happens actually is he drops me off. I show up, I'm smoking a cigarette, and they're like, "Oh, you better put that out." And I had a coffee can full of half butts. And they're like, "You better put that out and get rid of that. You're not allowed to smoke here." And that's when I was like, "Okay, I'm not going." And my dad's like, "No, just do it. Think about it. You could get all that shit out of your lungs and just really do it, really be clean, And I was like, "Okay, I'll do it." And then I spent the next 3 days.
Oh no.
So is that a power thing, or is that here it is?
Oh, there she is. I'll bring her back. There we go.
Oh, I don't know what happened. It just shut me out for some reason.
Yeah, that's okay. You're back.
Anyways, so I spent the next 3 days running up and down the stairs saying, "I need a cigarette. I need heroin." And none of the other clients were allowed to talk to me for the first 24 hours. That was too triggering, right? It's funny, but it's sad, and usually what they do is they make you shower and all this stuff, but for me they didn't do that. They were like, go to bed. So I did. When it was that night was my first night sleeping in a bed in over a year and almost a year, and it's like I had forgotten how to sleep in a bed. Like I literally was like half off of my mattress, and they told me, but my face was still perfect makeup. It's so messed up, and it's weird because there was times during that treatment stay where, like, for example, Remembrance Day, we were in New West, right? So we were at the city hall, and we were sitting there. I fell asleep because I was so used to sleeping outside. I felt so comfortable sleeping outside that, like, when I was tired, I passed out in the grass. Like, it took so long to get back to, like, being normal. Like, not normal, but like what society considers normal, I guess, right? And it was just, yeah, it was weird for me because I was being homeless wasn't normal for me. It wasn't like a normal thing, and I remember when my dad took us down as kids down to Hastings Street and drove us down the street and said, don't end up like these people,
I said, every one of these people has a family, every one of these people has a heart, and every one of these people has just made a wrong choice for where they should really be going.
Yeah.
But, it was be careful with your choices. It looks like you made a choice on one of the breaks, Pumpkin.
What?
I said, it looks like you made a choice on one of the breaks.
Oh no, I'm really tired. We didn't get home till really late last night.
It's that time.
Oh, is it already that time?
It sadly is.
It's over?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I just want to say that I'm really happy that we touched a lot of really good things in this episode, that we touched on the Narcan, we touched on the strip and treatment and everything, really. We touched on the video, and that I'm really honored and grateful to have been on this show. And
would you like to come back for another episode at some point?
Of course. I would love that.
Okay.
So thank you for having me.
Interrupt you. You keep going. I just want to make sure we get that in time before we got to click a button.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you for having me. It was healing.
Sharing your story. I am honored and blessed that you are sharing it with us and through our show. And that's coming from the heart. I get tears in my eyes. I really am honored and blessed that you are here sharing your story. And I send you all kinds of love. Just all kinds of love. I can't wait to see you when I'm up there.
And thank you for the strength and resilience that you show. It's honestly, it's amazing. It's amazing that you're here on the show.
Yeah.
And it's powerful. There's a lot of stuff for people to there's info here for other people to help them heal as well.
Yeah. I think a lot more people are watching this time, because last time I sent the link to all my people on my Facebook and I got a lot of replies. A lot of people watched it.
Nice.
Good.
Nice. And then it stays up there for people to rewatch at any time. So we get a lot of views that way too.
Yeah.
Yeah. With that, it is time. I'm going to be a little bit late, probably about a minute late, hitting the end button, but that's okay. Thank you so much for joining us here at the Mushie Moment. We have been coming to you live from paceradio.net and cbgtv.com, streaming like all over the place. Much love.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Love you.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own, and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with. All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
When you have a pain that's reached its peak, Legacy for 20, it's so unique. If organic cannabis is what you seek, here's your trusted partner 7 days a week. Suppository salves, vapes and drops, topicals, edibles, infused pop. Just when life seems like it ain't easy, at Legacy 420, enjoy a pop freezy. Lab tested products, make them the GOAT. Legacy 420 out on your road. Legacy 420 in Tyndonega Mohawk territory. Indigenous organic cannabis at its finest.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420. We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.